If you enjoy truthful and heartfelt conversations to inspire you to become a better version of yourself, empowering stories will help you. Hello, Vix. Thank you so much for being here. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. Thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here today.
It's such a pleasure and an honor to have Vix here because this woman has so much to offer and to share. Plus, we are very similar in one way, in the way that we want women, overall everybody, of course, but overall women to take ownership of their own finances and to retire rich. If we have the money, we can focus in our gifts. At least that's the point of view of Empower Supernova. Vix was born in New Zealand. However, she's lived in the UK for more than 30 years or around 30 years. And she also lived in Madrid, my home.
Yes.
Well, my home country anyway. I'm not from Madrid, but my home country for a year. Así que, Vix, muy buenos días.
Muy buenos días a tú también. My Spanish is very bad, as you can tell. It's very rusty. It was around 30 years ago I lived in Madrid. So I have to go back and improve it.
Yeah, sure. So welcome to the program, Vix. Please let us know about this empowering women through finances.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So what I do is, I'm very much an advocate of financial feminism, because there's not just a gender pay gap. There's also a gender wealth gap, a gender investment gap, a gender pension gap, a gender crypto gap, a gender debt gap. I mean, all of those things, women make less money than men. In terms of wealth, I mean, a statistic that I throw around is that there are 48 million US dollar millionaires in the world, and only 10% of those are women. And we sisters, we need to redress the balance. And then there's a gender pensions gap. Like here in the UK, men have more money in their pension pots than women. There's a gender debt gap. Women tend to owe more money than men do. So there's so much happening on a financial side. And that's why I focus on women. And, I get men asking me, why is it just for women? Because there's gender gaps that we need to redress. And I think women deal with their finances in a different way to men. Men are a lot more gung-ho. Women want to feel safe. They want to feel secure. If they're going to do something with money, they want to feel really confident. So they much more need that financial education, whereas men are a bit more, gung-ho, I'll give it a go. Yeah, sure. I'm confident. I know what I'm doing. So I do think the genders manage their finances in a different way. And that's why my focus is on women, because I want to close these gender gaps.
Education, first step for everything, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think, knowledge is power. And I think it's really important that as women that we become educated on personal finance. It wasn't taught in school. Well, I don't know. Well, I grew up in New Zealand. It wasn't taught to me at school. You grew up in Spain. I'm pretty sure it wasn't taught there. It's not really taught in the UK either. I think there's little things creeping in this day and age, but we don't learn it at school. And often our parents weren't comfortable with managing their finances either, or didn't do a very good job of it. So we don't pick it up at home either. So the only way we're going to learn is if we make an effort to learn ourselves, and we, either go on courses or read books, or there's lots of different ways to learn. But basically, it involves making an effort, deciding that you need to do it, because you know that when you do have that knowledge, you do have that education, that will change the way you deal with money and actually make your life better and help you create and grow wealth.
Yeah, and not only that, because once we as women have learned how to manage money, and we have learned something about finances, I'm not saying everything, about something, how to manage it, not that it's money coming in and then there's an ATM and I don't know what's going on. We teach that to our kids.
Yes.
Actively or passively, because they can learn it. And then we can change future generations.
Absolutely. And you're absolutely right. And I think, one thing I hear a lot of people talking about as well is generational wealth, or intergenerational wealth, that they want to create wealth, not just for themselves, but they want to pass it on to their children to make their children's lives better, and then their children's children. But one of the things I say is it's not just about actually passing down the money. You also have to pass down the knowledge and the desire to be educated in this area. So I think you make a really good point. Like, it's not just actively teaching your children things, it's passively as well, because children see things. And, if I think, I'm not a parent, but, my advice to parents is talk to your children about money. If you're making a financial decision, talk to them and say, okay, we have this amount of money. This is what we can spend. So we can't have that. It's going to cost too much. We could have that, or we could have that. So help them understand, that sometimes there might be limits. I mean, I know from a mindset perspective, we say there's no limits, but I think when you're making a spending decision, here and now, you will have a certain amount of money, and help them understand trade-offs. Like, if you have this, then you can't have that. And, help them make those kind of decisions. And then, but I also think we need to work on the money mindset side as well. I mean, one thing I talk about, and I talk a lot about financial strategies, but the best financial strategies will only take you so far if you don't also have a strong money mindset. And when you have both, that's when the magic happens.
Yeah, it does indeed. When you were saying about telling our kids what's in there, what's not, I remember that for my parents and that generation, it was embarrassing talking about money.
Yeah.
People would talk about sex or about bodily functions before they would talk about money, because in their minds, it was equated. This is the amount of money that I have. This is my worth, which is not. For kids, that's not there. It's notes that I have or numbers on the screen, and that's it. But that doesn't mean that that's me. So we need to change our mindset.
We need to talk about money more. I mean, there was a week in the UK, we have a week called Talking Money Week. I think it's called Talking Money Week. It was the end of last year. And it's a week where, it's kind of encourages people to talk about money. And you're right. Like, and even though people talk about money more than they did in our parents' generation, we still don't talk about it enough. And people would still rather talk about sex than money. And, and there's so much that goes on in money. There's so many emotions like fear, greed, things like that, like fear that you don't have enough money, fear that, if you do have money, that people will perceive you as being greedy. So there's all these emotions that are associated with money and how we manage our money. And we need to kind of get over these. And that's why we need to work on our money mindset as well.
Yeah. I'm thinking of jealousy as well.
Yes. Jealousy is another big one.
Yeah. And
shame's another big one.
Embarrassment.
And guilt is another common one. Guilt, if you do have money, it's like, oh, I feel bad that I do have money and so next door doesn't. So it's, and also I think the other thing as well is that we can be really hard on ourselves about some of our past decisions, our past financial decisions. And I think we need to be kinder to ourselves as well and say, okay, that was a past. I'm going to forgive myself and move on. Because if we hold that kind of guilt and are hard on ourselves about what happened in the past, then we can't kind of truly move on and improve. So I do think it's really important to forgive ourselves for some of the decisions we've made in the past and look at how we can improve those financial decisions through, as we talked about earlier, financial education.
We are talking up until now about ourselves, our responsibility, our learning, us. But what happens with all those energy models and mindsets from the past that we're not aware of? I'm talking about beliefs of, because I cannot make more money than my father, but we're not aware of that. Because if I make more money than my father, he's going to feel bad, less, not the breadwinner. He's going to feel all these negative emotions, negative in inverted commas, but we're not even aware of that. And for some reason, we sabotage making money. What's your experience on that?
Well, I think what you're saying is absolutely true. And there's lots of ways we sabotage ourselves. And I think you're right. We have these subconscious beliefs that we have from a very, very young age that we don't realize. And it's only once you start doing the work on your mindset and on your money mindset in this case, that, you start to understand why maybe you've behaved in certain ways in the past, like, using your example, why you haven't wanted to take that job and earn more money, because it's like, oh, I can't possibly do that because, you know, I'd be earning more than my father. But not actually really realizing that's the reason you're not doing it. You just have a feeling that, oh, I shouldn't really take that job or something like that. But you're right that we have all these subconscious beliefs about money, and we carry them around, and we don't actually realize that we have them. And, you know, I know for myself that, you know, from doing the money mindset work, I've unearthed lots of beliefs that I've held and lots of kind of money blocks that have held me back in the past. And you constantly have to do work on them to chip away at them, because they are strong. These money blocks, you know, they're there, they're strong, they're, you know, holding us, you, me, us, everyone back. So that's why working on your money mindset is so important, because that's when you can uncover some of the emotions and some of these subconscious beliefs, these limiting beliefs, and deal with them and move forward.
Yeah, and in the case of women, we're having even one more, which is we are women. That's a drawback, because we don't deserve it. Money is a thing for men. Women are supposed to be in the kitchen or in bed or with the kids. And that's in society, that's pervasive in society, even though nobody speaks about that. And we talk the nice words of, yeah, we all deserve the same thing for the same kind of job, but still it's in ourselves. And also women, we have it there, we still believe it, don't we?
Yeah. But interestingly, it was, I mean, I can't remember what year it is off the top of my head, but, you know, in the UK, for example, women have only been able to have their own bank accounts for the last, I don't know, I'm going to say 30, 40 years. I mean, prior to that, you could not have a bank account unless either your father or your brother or your husband was on it with you. So, you know, I suppose it also depends on your age, but, you know, lots of things, you know, it was very difficult for a single woman on her own to get a mortgage. I mean, now it's not, things have changed and things have moved on, but as women, we've also had that. And so, you know, we've seen our mothers, some of us, it depends on your relationship with mother and your mother's role in the family, but a lot of women my age have seen their mothers not really have any control over the family finances.
My mother didn't have access to the bank account.
Yeah, exactly that. So then as a child, you grow up, and, you know, what you mentioned earlier about these passive lessons, that was a passive lesson that you learned, that your mother, a woman, doesn't have access to the family bank account.
Yeah, I think that in my case, it was rage and frustration. So that's not going to happen. As soon as I opened my own bank account, bought my own flat, my own car and everything, because I wanted to be independent, but it was coming from frustration and rage.
Yeah. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because different people react in different ways to that. So you reacted, and I'm a bit like you, I react in frustration and rage. Other people just accept it and think, oh, well, you know, my dad managed the family finances. I'm happy for my husband to manage the family finances as well. So whereas for me, it would be like, no, I'm doing everything myself. I'm independent. I'm strong. Whoa, whoa, whoa. So I think it's, you know, different. It's not just that, you know, we can have a similar experience, but react to it or have it, you know, give it different kind of importance in a different way, depending on the person. And so, and that's why it's so personal. It's our own interpretation based on us and who we are.
Over the years, Vix, what's your biggest learning, the biggest aha moment that you have had at some point? It could be you or somebody, or...
I think my biggest aha moment is, I'm thinking actually, because it could be one of three. Okay, so I think my biggest one is actually that it's easier to create and build wealth than you think. Because I think for many years, I was just kind of going along, you know, having jobs, getting paid, spending pretty much most of my money, not saving much. And then once I started to invest, and I really started in property. So, you know, I bought a property for myself in 1996. And a few years later, I bought my first investment property. And admittedly, I got in at a really good time. And part of the reason I was able to buy an investment property a few years later was because my own property had gone up I was able to remortgage it, take some equity out, use it as a deposit for the investment property, then that was going up as well. So it was kind of like, wow, suddenly, I have a net worth, I'm worth something, because prior to buying my first property, I'd been a student for many years, done a master's degree and things like that. And I hadn't saved anything. In fact, I've been a bit of a spender, and I'd end up in debt. And don't tell the bank, but I also didn't even have a deposit when I bought my first flat for myself. I actually borrowed money for that deposit and then managed to buy the flat. And then 3 years later, I managed to, take equity out and buy my first investment property. And then I repeated that. And, over not that long a period of time, I'd gone from zero net worth. I can't remember how much it was at the time, but maybe it was £100,000 or something, over quite a short period of time. And it was like, wow, this is actually easier than you think. Admittedly, it was a good time. It was a property. At the time I bought my first flat in 1996, property prices were really flat. There'd been a drop some years earlier, and then they did start to go up. And then it was like, okay, I'm going to diversify and get into other investing. And I think once you realize that, you do have a bit of cash, a bit of money left over each month to put aside, you can actually grow it, and you can watch it grow over time.
Oh, certainly. Yeah. Well, my expertise, as you know, is the stock market, and we can start with as little as $500 US.
Exactly.
As little as that. And it's very important to put something aside every month. Put something there, because that compounds, and compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world.
Yeah. And you can, you can even start with less than that, because, you can open an ISA here in the UK with very little amount of money. I mean, even if it's £20 a month, you can open an ISA. And also, it's so easy to do it now, isn't it? Because you can have an app on your phone.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
You can open an ISA. Gone are the days when you had to have a stockbroker and you had to ring your stockbroker and say, can you please invest this amount of money in this stock? Now there's funds, and it's apps on your phone. And there's even, these robo advisors, isn't it, that, choose the funds for you. You can either do it yourself. You can go a robo advisor, and, based on your investment strategy and your level of risk, it's kind of a computer generated algorithm that these are the stocks and funds that you'll invest in. Mm-hmm. Or you could also have a personal financial advisor who will do something personal for you. So there's so many options now. But if you do the DIY route, or even maybe a robo advisor, you can do that through an app on your phone. I mean, I personally use Hargraves Lansdowne, like for my pension here in the UK, my SIP, and I actually have had ISAs with them in the past. I don't have my ISA with them this year. I have it with Interactive Investor, but yeah, it's so easy to do these things these days.
Mm-hmm, certainly. So you teach people mindset and also strategies, from what I see. Yeah. How do you do that? Courses, books?
Yeah, so actually I have a book which I'm hoping to publish later this year. That's about financial literacy for women. So it's kind of the basic financial education piece. And I'd like to go on and write more books about investing, about mindset. I mean, because there's a whole range of different topics for books. But the first one is kind of, the fundamentals, the basics. I also do one-to-one coaching, and I do courses. And I do stuff on financial literacy, and then on investing. And I'm also really into crypto. So, for example, I'm going to start at the beginning of March, Woman Who Crypto Mastermind. So that's for women who are really interested in being in a mastermind group with a group of women who are all investing in crypto. There'll be some teaching as part of the mastermind, but there'll also be sharing experiences along the way. So that's something I have starting in March. So I run, different courses, mainly online courses, mastermind now coming up, book. And at some time I'd like to start a podcast too, and I'll have to get you on it when I eventually do. But that's not too high on the list now, because I'm also aware that you don't want to start too much at once. But it's definitely one of my goals.
Oh, fantastic. One thing that I'm thinking, Vix, imagine you get a woman from zero to hero, right? What happens with that woman once she gets wealthy?
Well, I think, and a lot of the time it's not about the money, is it? And I always say that, you know, creating and growing wealth is really about the money. It's about being able to start a business. It's about being able to leave a toxic relationship. It's about being to support your friends and family or support your local community. It's about being able to travel where you want. You know, it's about creating the life you want. It's not about having all this money in a bank account sitting there doing nothing and looking at it every day and counting the zeros. It's actually about lifestyle. It's about empowerment. It's about financial empowerment, because if you do have money, then this is unfortunate, but, you know, things do open up to you. As I said, like, you know, leaving a toxic relationship. It's harder for a woman who does not have money to leave a toxic relationship than a woman who does have money. So money provides opportunities. Money enables you to do things that you might want to do.
Yeah, the way I say it, Vix, is money is freedom.
Yeah, it is.
Choose what you want, and it's a way that enables us to focus on our talents, get better at them, and then share them with the world.
Yeah, and it's also like, you know, I talk a lot about financial freedom, and financial freedom is actually having the money to do what you want, which is freedom. So yeah, and, you know, one of the things is time freedom. You know, having time, because if you're caught up in the 9 to 5 and working all the time, then you're not really having that time to do the things you really want to do. So I agree. I think it's money enables you to create and live the life that you want. Yeah. And money's a tool. I mean, a lot of people don't like talking about money, but I would say, well, what is money? It's just a tool. It's a tool to get you where you want to go, and treat it like that. Money is neutral energy. It's not positive. It's not negative. There's a lot of this stuff, isn't there? And again, this comes to money mindset, that rich people are greedy or rich people are bad, but some people are bad and some people are good. And money does not make you bad or does not make you good. Money is neutral. It's a person that has the good or the bad energy. Money is neutral energy.
Yeah, but who out there at some point has gone to a jacket that hasn't worn for a whole season and then finds a $20 note or a 20, whatever, euro, pound, whatever it is, and doesn't smile? Who? I mean, everybody gets happy. And how much money is spent every year in lottery? Tons of money, millions and billions of money in lottery. What happens afterwards, though, is that those winners, because they don't have the financial literacy, because they don't have the mindset, what happens?
A lot of them end up broke.
Yeah.
A lot of them struggle because suddenly everyone's on to them like, well, can you give me some money for this? Can you give me money for that? And you're right. They particularly, you know, if they're not used to having money before, they don't know how to manage it. And it's very common for people who win the lottery to end up broke within 5 years. And that's even if you've won millions. So I think it highlights, I mean, that's a really good point that you've raised, because I think it highlights the need to be educated and the need to have good financial strategies and the need to have a strong money mindset, so that if you do win the lottery, you'll be able to manage it and not be one of the ones that end up broke. And hey, I'm all for winning the lottery. Although the odds of winning the lottery are very, very low. One thing I always say is actually go out and make that money. Rather than, you know, hope on the lottery. Yeah, sure, take a ticket. I mean, I take lottery tickets now and then. Yeah, go out and decide you're going to make that money, or invest, or create it through investing.
I suppose that the difference is that if you or me buy a lottery ticket, we know exactly what we're going to do with the money that we get. Yeah. This percentage for blowing it, this percentage for charity, this percentage to invest, this percentage for learning, this percentage. We have a clear vision, but if you don't have a vision.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think a lot of people that win the lottery are just a really high percentage is in the blowing it category. Whereas I would be like, you know, well, great, I'm going to have a really nice holiday in the Maldives, but I'm going to invest in that, and I'm going to invest in that, and I'm going to give that to charity, and I'm going to give that to that amount of person. So like you, I would have quite a plan, and it would not, and I would definitely blow a little bit, but it would be a small percentage.
Yeah.
Because I would be happy with just going off to the Maldives and having a nice 2 weeks holiday in luxury and think, okay, you know, I don't want to do that. I don't need to do that for the rest of the year. I've got other things I want to do. So yeah.
Yeah, I so agree with that. Last summer, my partner Owen and I, we spent 2 months in Bali, and it was just amazing. Beautiful hotel, beautiful country, beautiful food, beautiful everything. And it's like we can be here forever, but we kept working anyway. At night
I
time,
love Bali.
we're making money in the stock market. During the day, we're enjoying the weather, the sea, the monkeys, and
Yeah, I love Bali. And actually, one of my plans is to go off and, like you, and just do 3 months in Bali as well. But I'm in the process of moving house at the moment, so I'm kind of a bit tied to the UK. I've got the house purchase has gone through, but I'm having a long move because I'm getting some work done in the house first. So I'm going back and forwards a lot. But once I'm in and settled, yeah, and once things in the world kind of go back a bit more to some kind of normality, I definitely want to be doing that a lot more.
yeah. So that's the importance of having a plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, many people out there wouldn't have a plan even, right? And when they come to you, do they have a plan, or do they plan it with you because they just don't know what they don't know?
I think, yeah, a lot of my clients, particularly, I do one-to-one, are women who are very good at making money. So they've got a business, they're quite good at making it, but what they're not so good at is at keeping it and growing it. And you're right about having a plan about how to allocate the money to the different categories, and also about investing. And that's something I find a lot of women have a lot of fear about investing, whether it's the stock market or property. It's just a fear of, oh, what if I lose my money? Because, there's some level of risk associated with it. So, and I'm sure you know this, but men invest more than women, and women tend to save and have more money in the bank than men do. But, you don't even get, as you don't even get 1% interest on money in your savings account right now. Whereas, on average, say the S&P 500 has been, over time has returned around 10% per year.
Yeah.
So
since 65. Since 65.
Yeah.
The average is 10%. Yeah.
Yeah, since a long time ago. So it's kind of like, and okay, interest rates have been higher in the past, but I mean, they've been low since around, at least 10 years, very, very low interest rates. So your cash in a bank is not returning very much to you.
No, nothing. Or the opposite. It's taking money away from you.
Particularly if you're paying bank fees.
Yeah. And in some countries, you have to pay to keep your money in the bank.
Yeah, negative interest rates. Yeah. Crazy, isn't it? So I think you're right. It's women are coming to me and they just want clarity on what they should be doing with their money. So what I like to do is talk to them about their vision, their goals, how much of their money is working for them now. And they say they have these goals, but what are they doing to make the goals happen? And particularly the things that involve money, like travel around the world or get a new car. It's like, okay, well, how are you allocating money to that goal? And often it's there's no clear plan. So what I try and do is look at the goals, look at the vision, and look at how money contributes to those. So if their plan is, I don't know, say they've got children that need to go to university in 5 years and they want to support their child in university, like how much money they got towards that now, how much they need, what's the gap, how they're going to plug that gap.
Yeah.
And then retirement is the thing I talk about a lot, because I think a lot of my clients are like in their 40s, sometimes even 50s. So they've got less time, and a lot have kind of been burying their head in the sand about retirement and don't have much put away, and now like, I need to do something about it. And I think it's easy. You get caught up, you've got a home, you've got a mortgage, maybe you've got a family, you're paying for education, that you're just not prioritizing yourself. And, that's why we have this phrase, pay yourself first, which means that, the very first thing you do is should be putting money into your funds for the future you. And it's easy to spend on the current you, but life is a balancing act. And, I talk about my financial G spot, which is that sweet spot when I can spend on myself now to have a good time, knowing that I'm also putting away enough money for the future.
Yeah, those are the percentages that we were talking about before. If I win the lottery, this percentage for blowing, this percentage for saving, this percentage investing, this percentage to give away. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. A question. Creating wealth, is it for any woman in
Yes.
any country, any age, any background?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Because you can start with very, very little money. And I think maybe not 100% everyone, but most people, I think pretty much most people can either cut their expenses a little. I think most people have a little bit of slack that they can cut, or try and increase their income a little to create, even if it's a small amount of money, even if it's £10 a month, that they could start investing. Because, you know, the sooner they start, the better. And particularly for young women, you know, we talked about compound interest and the eighth wonder of the world. I mean, if you're starting at age 25 and you've got 40 years to your 60, well, that time plus, and, you know, a decent rate of return does wonders. And, you know, it's not difficult for a young woman to become a millionaire.
Yeah.
By starting young. I mean, the older you are, the more money you need to be putting away each month in order to reach that goal. But so the sooner you start, the better. I mean, there's that Chinese proverb, isn't it, which I use for money as well. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is now. And it's the same with investing. A lot of people think, I've left it too late, you know, the 50. I'm like, no, you haven't. You can start now. You're still going to be making money for at least 10, 15 years. You can do you can do something. You'll be better off starting now than not starting at all. And then in 15 years' time, you would have made some impact.
Yeah, Warren Buffett talks about that as well.
Yeah, I mean, and also look, Warren Buffett, I mean, how old is he? 90, I don't know how old he is. 92, I feel, but I might be completely
90, wrong. Yeah, he was born in 1930. So
yeah, 92 this year then.
In August, yeah.
Yeah, so 92 this year. And like, he's still going. And that's the other thing as well, actually, like we talk about retirement. And one of the things I also talk about a lot is that retirement is changing. We need to rethink retirement. You know, in my parents' day, it was work till age 65, get a pension, some from the government, some from your workplace, and you lived off it. And everything was dandy and you had enough money to live off it. Well, that's not happening anymore. And the onus is on us to provide for ourselves in the future. Yes, here in the UK, we theoretically will be eligible for a state pension. If you've paid 35 years worth of contributions, you'll be eligible for the full state pension. But I personally am not relying on it because I believe it will be means tested in the future because the governments can't afford to pay it. There's so many old people now, you know, the aging of the population. Governments won't be able to pay it. So I think the onus is on us as individuals to provide for ourselves. And what I see is a lot of people are still, even now, a lot of people are still working because they have to, but other people are still working because they want to. And I think I will fall into the second category that, you know, I'll keep doing some kind of active work because I like it, because I enjoy it. Probably not full time, but I'll still be doing something because that's what I enjoy doing. So you don't want to be in the first category where you have to keep working because you need the money. If you keep working, you want to be doing it because you love it. And if you want to down tools completely and put your feet up, you want to be able to do that too.
Yeah, it's all about the mindset because in a previous society, so to speak, that I belong to as well, working for the corporate until you turn 65, and then you'll be able to do the things that you love doing anyway.
Yeah.
But then at 65, what the hell?
Exactly.
It's late. Yeah. However, if we free ourselves from the 9 to 5, we have the money sorted, then we can focus in the things that we love. We'll continue doing the things that we love, like Warren Buffett. I've had the privilege of seeing him 5 times already at his AGM, and it's just amazing, amazing. He and Charlie Munger, both of them, they know everything about everything. You can ask them about trains in India in the 70s, and they don't check anything. They just answer. They know all the figures and everything, the political situation, the economical situation, everything about everything. And that's because they love what they do.
And that's inspirational, isn't it? It's inspirational to see people that are in their 90s who love what they do. And I mean, something I've read about Warren Buffett, and I haven't got the figures in front of me, but a lot of his wealth was made when he was over 50. he's lasted a long time. He's lasted till his 90s. So yeah, but he's also continued investing, and in that time, hasn't he, with his business interests?
Yeah, but he loves what he does. He absolutely loves what he does, and that's inspiring.
It's really inspiring. Yeah,
he doesn't do exercise. He doesn't eat well, but he loves what he does.
Good for him.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Tell us something about upcoming courses that you have, or immediate ideas.
Yeah, so basically the main thing I've got going on at the moment is what I've already mentioned. I have a Woman Who Crypto mastermind that's going to start in March. So I'm, putting feelers out now that if anyone's interested, to get in touch with me. I'm also going to have later in February a short course on how to manage money in your relationship. February is the month of love, and I think money is one of the biggest issues in relationships. So I'm kind of doing a bit of a focus on that in February. So I'm going to have a really short course and then a self-study course as well on that coming up. So that's the main things I've got coming up.
Fantastic.
And hopefully my book will be published around June, July this year.
Awesome. Let us know about that.
Yeah, so I definitely will. Yeah.
As well. And where can people find you, Vix?
Where can people find me? So yeah, I'm on Instagram as vix.munro. I have a free Facebook group for women. It's called the Retire Rich Community. My Facebook page is Retire Rich. And I'm also on LinkedIn as vix.munro.
So inspirational, just the name of it.
Oh yeah, I love the name Retire Rich, because I think, who doesn't want to retire rich?
Yeah, I'm young.
You don't want to spend your golden years in poverty, do you?
No.
Yeah, retire rich and young. Yeah, retire. I mean, I think the thing is, a lot of people say to me, well, I don't want to retire. So I never want to retire. I always want to keep working. I think the word retire means different things now. It used to be down tools, put your feet up. But to me, the word retirement means having enough money that if you want, you can down tools. You might choose to work, but you don't need to make any more money. You have enough money to live the life you want.
Exactly. So it's freedom.
Yeah, freedom. Freedom is a fabulous word, isn't it?
For whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Well, Vix, it's been an absolute honor and pleasure to have you here. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's been great being here. Love having a good chat. Take care.